I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. I'm here with Nicholas Rodway of Core Assets Corp. We're backstage at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto. It is June 11th, 2022. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. This is the first Metals Forum I've been exhibiting in, so quite happy to be here.
I have an idea there's going to be many more because you have a very exciting project. You have a carbonate replacement target that you're looking at, sort of silver, lead, zinc, I suppose, and then you have a skarn target as well, copper, gold, silver, maybe those sort of minerals. And what's really amazing is you've come up with some incredibly high-grade surface mineralization that nobody's ever seen before, largely because we've had a retreating snowcap, I guess, and it's a blessing for you and I think potentially for the shareholders. Talk to us a little bit about what you know about those two targets so far.
Yeah, so I mean, the company, I guess, dates back to late 2017, 2018, and it was a private company. And I was prospecting up in the Atlin area, and it was all revolving around one spot that was looked at even back in the 1890s. And that would be the Labrador, what we call the Labrador project, and that is a skarn porphyry target, which we are drilling as we speak right now. And there's high grade samples of copper, gold, silver, and molybdenum. So that's a large tonnage, low grade kind of story, and that's what got us to the area. So the goal basically every year we went up there was to kind of go a little bit further to the west and go to areas where, people generally don't go and where people believe there might have been nothing, just like a lot of stories that's happened in the past, like Voisey's Bay, for instance, people thought that they were crazy to go in that area. So we just went a little bit further and went over that next ridge. And that was when we ran into what's known as the Silver Line Project, which hosts the 2021 Grizzly Discovery Zone, and we're in Toronto here, and one of the largest buildings here is the CN Tower, which is over 500 meters in height. So the Grizzly Manto is basically the size of the CN Tower on its side, and it's visible for over 500 meters of strike length at the Grizzly. So it's once in a lifetime opportunity. As a geologist, it doesn't happen often when you come across something that no one's ever even picked at before. And like you said, it's thanks to the glaciers receding, and that's just the size of these two areas is very small compared to our property size, which our property size is over 1,100 square kilometers. So if you can find one CRD in Mexico, for instance, there's a belt that goes on for over 300 kilometers. So if you find one, if you can tap into one, there's the opportunity to find multiple more. So the upside, we're looking for something big here for sure. And we're in the right area for it, I think.
Well, you got pretty good start for scale, I would say.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. And we've been able to consolidate the whole area, which is unheard of as well. It's very uncommon for one company to make a discovery like that and be able to take in all of the land and have no obstruction to where you can go and what you can do. So it's quite nice to have that.
So you're starting your drill program on the skarn, I think.
On Labrador area. Yeah. So we started about a week and a half ago, and we just completed our second hole today, and we're going to be moving to our next pad tomorrow. Yeah.
And what's the turnaround time for drill results? Because as investors, we all that's what we're watching for, right?
Yeah, for sure. 28 days right now. So it's not too bad.
Not too bad.
We've been lucky enough to get our first hole is completely logged, and it's already sent to the lab. So we should be able to get something in late July probably. But again, you don't know what's going to happen in the world, right? So, and we're very early starting off. A lot of other companies are not really started yet in that area. Yeah. So that number is going to increase substantially by the time we start getting our first hole back, right?
So you're able to get in earlier than expected almost. And how many meters are you drilling this year on both projects?
Well, we're going to do 1,500 at Labrador, and then at Silver Line we're going to do additional 3,500. And if things keep going the way they are, with weather has been amazing. It's been, the other day it was 26 degrees up there. Which is crazy. And I just came from Newfoundland, and it was with the wind chill -1 there a couple days ago, right? So it's pretty crazy to have that, but if we can do more than 5,000, we certainly will.
Yeah. And who owns your company? You have some major shareholders, and management, I think, owns a good chunk as well, which I always like to see.
Of course. Well, I have a lot of my own money into it because I'm, you you end up sometimes promoting yourself more than anyone else, when
Yeah.
you're doing these projects, especially when you've lived what I've lived, because it's hard for a general everyday investor to see what I've seen on the ground,
Right.
because it
And
is
to understand what you said.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's very, very substantial. But there's a investment group out of the U.S. called Crescat Capital.
Right.
They own a large percentage of the company. They went into a private placement, and they've also been acquiring some shares in the
On the
in the open market.
Mhm.
And then, other than that, the management is about 26%.
Oh,
Ownership. So, and again, another note is that most of the shares are locked up. So there's only about 40 million shares out of our 74 million that are
Right.
actually free trading.
free trading and
Correct.
yeah. Well, that's certainly very important. Who owns you? And I know that, yes, I know the Crescat guys, especially Quentin Henning, is very, very bullish on your story. Scale and grade, getting there before others do. Want to see the results coming forward. Uh, I guess, what about First Nations or any of those issues that you're okay with all of that? Or is that in the early stages of working with them?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking and consulting with all groups in the area, whether it be First Nations or locals. We're trying to use local people, and I mean, the issues don't really start on any side of things until you start, proving what you have.
Right,
So,
right.
we're a very early stage speculative story with
Mhm.
huge upside, but this season will be very. Very important in our growth moving forward, and we'll be looking into doing more deals with the locals and whatnot as we move forward. But
Mhm.
right now we're on top of things on the environmental wildlife side, and with the First Nations, and everything. It couldn't be going better at this very point.
Yeah. Could you give our viewers just a sense of some of the grades that you've seen on surface on both targets, perhaps?
Yeah. So at Labrador area, which is the skarn porphyry story, I mean, it's not uncommon to get a 10% copper in your skarn, but the skarn is going to get you higher grade. But the real interest there is the potassic alteration in the granodiorite, and that's where you get your porphyry side of things. So our aim at this drill program is to extend the skarn and penetrate then into the granodiorite and try to get an idea of how close. It's a vectoring technique to see how close we could be towards a potential intrusive center. There's a lot of molybdenum in the area as well, and there's a silver and gold credit there of about 0.5 grams gold, and it's not uncommon to get around 50 grams silver in your sample. Then at the silver lime area, that's our mainly zinc, lead, silver, copper story. We took 365 samples of bedrock material, and the average of all of those samples, which are taken in separate mineralized areas, is around 5% lead, 8% zinc, and 90 grams per ton silver, and around 0.3 copper. So we got the polymetallic. It's pretty amazing to you're even putting samples in that are not very mineralized into that 365. So it's going to bring your number down. But the Grizzly Manto, when we spoke about earlier there, across the 500 meters, chip sampling that every 5 to 10 meters, that would average around 9% zinc, 1% lead, and around 110 grams silver, 0.4 copper. So
those are nice, beautiful numbers, and
it's beautiful.
If on scale.
Correct.
And so I guess what we're really looking for, the drivers that I will be watching, because I own your shares and they are recommended in my newsletter. That third dimension, grades, if we get similar grades going deep, and I think this will be a very exciting story. Anything else to add before we conclude our discussion?
No, I mean, everything is going really well right now. We're hoping, the weather keeps cooperating, and we'll be drilling the Grizzly area, the Silver Lime area, probably, first week of July. We'll be mobilizing there, and then we're going to go until, we can't anymore. But the snowpack this year has been a lot less as well. So last year was a big snow year. So it was, night and day with the difference of exposure. And we're in there right now, just doing structural measurements and just prepping at the Grizzly area for drilling. So it's probably going to be the most exciting exploration season that I'll ever take part of in my life, for sure. So,
well, there may be more. But this is the first one that you're really getting a chance to drill and examine that third dimension of what you're seeing, the spectacular results on surface. Well, I really look forward to this. I mean, it's a very low market cap stock. I think maybe 45 million in Canadian money, something like that right now.
Yeah.
And so that's these are the kinds of stories that can really enhance your portfolio when you hit these things. And we'll be watching very closely. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
Thank you for having me.